Good afternoon. It's the top of the hour. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Nick Smith. A nationwide lawsuit involving more than 20 states is going forward after the Trump administration freezing nearly $7 billion in education funding for after-school and summer programs. The lawsuit alleges withholding that money violates the Constitution, asking a federal judge to release the money which was supposed to be sent to states on July 1st. This comes as the Supreme Court gave the green light for the Trump administration to continue mass layoffs at the Department of Education, ultimately dismantling the department to its core. Both President Trump and Education Secretary Linda McMahon continue to stress the importance of sending education back to the states, giving parents a bigger say in their child's education. Here's what the president said at the White House before leaving for Pennsylvania.
We had a big win with the Supreme Court on the Department of Education. We want, as you know, we want to bring education back to the states, take the federal government out of it. A little tiny bit of supervision, but very little, almost nothing, like to make sure they speak English. That's about all we need.
News Nation's Joe Khalil joins us live. Joe, good afternoon. What does this mean for states and schools across the country? You heard the president's remarks.
Well, if this goes forward permanently, it's going to be a major reshuffling in how we fund education and who is ultimately responsible for making the ultimate calls on education policy. The Supreme Court put this order forward, Nick. To be clear, it's not their final decision on a case. The case is going to continue to go on in legal back and forths. But in the meantime, what the Supreme Court said is that President Trump's plans to significantly downsize the federal Department of Education are allowed to move forward. That means President Trump is going to be allowed to move his plan forward to get rid of or lay off thousands of federal employees, to take most of the function that the federal Department of Education has now and put that in the hands of the states. We know that that is his aim. That's also the aim of Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, who put out a statement celebrating the decision and saying that we're going to carry out the reduction in force to promote efficiency and accountability and to ensure resources are directed where they matter most, to students, parents, and to teachers. Now, just a little while ago, in the last half hour, we talked to Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. She has been at the forefront of the House Education Committee. Just today, she was forefront in this hearing that focused on anti-Semitism on college campuses. She came out and we asked her some questions about President Trump's plan, whether she supports it, and whether her main issue, which is trying to get rid of anti-Semitism around schools, benefits from the federal department being shut down. Remember, the federal department has an Office of Civil Rights that seeks to curb things like hate speech, things like anti-Semitism. This is her response.
What have we seen from the Department of Education at the federal level? It has failed significantly. Frankly, it's very similar to the dynamics that we see in New York State. New York State's Department of Education has perpetuated anti-Semitism, whether it was their affiliations with Regents preparation materials, which were by definition anti-Semitic. Education decisions, number one, are best made first by parents, then by local communities, and then by local school boards.
Now, Nick, obviously very different viewpoint from most Democrats. We also talked to Congressman Pete Aguilar, the number 3 Democrat in the House, about this issue. He says this is about cost cutting on the backs of children.
This is going to affect schools across the country, but the administration has been very clear that they want to systematically dismantle the education system in our communities and the funding that we rely on locally for that. It's dangerous, it's unprecedented, but that's exactly who Donald Trump is.
And Nick, because this is still an ongoing case, there certainly could be even more legal challenges to this decision. So we're going to have to wait and see how all of this plays out in the legal space.
Yeah, and Joe, now that they've been given the green light, what does the education downsizing plan actually look like?
Yeah, so what it looks like is thousands of federal workers who work for the Department of Education entirely cut, but not all the way. The department is still going to exist in a very small form. Remember that Congress established the Department of Education. There are doubts as to whether the president can by himself totally get rid of it. So he would actually, in this way, downsize it just in a way that sort of makes it ineffective without getting rid of it entirely. But this would be here also the end, as this moves forward here, how this would end up looking. So state level and local level education departments would have to take on a lot of grant money, and they would be able to disperse it how they see fit rather than accepting it from the federal government, which now sets the standard for where dollars go.
Joe Khalil with the very latest on Capitol Hill. Joe, thank you so much. For more perspective, let's bring in Jody Grant, Executive Director of the After School Alliance. Jody, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on.
Jody, you heard the remarks from the president. You heard what Joe just talked about. We know the decision from the Supreme Court. Where are we, Jody, with all of this?
So, when I was listening to the president, and one of the things that I think is so surprising and disappointing to us in the after school world is that after school is the epitome of a program where the federal dollars go to the states. Each individual state then creates its own RFP, and local communities apply for those grants. So these are programs that have been frozen by the office, by OMB, funds were supposed to be given out on July 1st. And we have local after-school programs, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs, that are literally not able to keep their doors open this summer, let alone when the school year begins, because of this funding freeze. So it's really disappointing.
Yeah, Jody, talk about that, because I think that we hear all of this out of D.C., but you're seeing the real effects of that on the ground.
Well, that's right. We're looking at the after-school portion of this. We're looking at 1.4 million students. And these are students all across the country, rural areas, suburban areas, urban areas. And after-school programs aren't just essential for our students, but they're a lifeline for our working parents. So we're seeing the repercussions from parents calling us up that, they don't know what they're going to do, worried about losing their jobs, from Main Street, from their employers. So we're really hoping that this can be turned around quickly.
Jody, there have been a number of Democrats who have criticized the president's plan and promise to strip down or eliminate the Department of Education, even saying to Ms. McMahon, Secretary McMahon, that, hey, I want you to work yourself out of a job. But Jody, you've worked in the space of after-school programs. There must be places of pork that you've seen that you're like, hey, if we handled this here on the local level, we could do a lot better managing these funds. Is that true?
Well, I think after school, almost all the work is done at the state and local level. So the role at the federal level is really some technical assistance, sharing best practices. And so it's very minimal. I think most of the work is exactly going to the states and the local programs. And I believe the local programs, the ones that parents choose their kids to go to, are doing, the best they can.
So, Jody, more than anything, you're saying unfreeze these funds so that we can continue doing the work that we do.
Yeah, so unfreeze these funds so kids can go back to doing robotics, to having their community playgrounds, to having mentoring, academic support in those absolutely essential hours when their parents are working. And if they're not in a safe place, we're concerned about what they might be up to.
Jody, there are a number of lawsuits over after-school funding freezes, so you're not in this alone. When you speak to others who work in this space, the major concern is what?
I think the major concern is that you have programs, including after school right now, that have contracts, that have staff, that will not be able to open their doors because they were anticipating getting this money on July 1st. So every day that goes on, that funding freeze, and this is funding that Congress appropriated and the president signed into law for a very bipartisan program, is causing a huge catastrophic impact on the ground. And I want to say, this is something that's really popular with voters too. Almost 90% of voters, we polled them in December, said that after-school programs are an absolute necessity in their community. And that's, again, because this is really dealing with what local communities need on the ground for their students and their families.
Yeah, we're looking at a chart right now, Jody, that breaks down exactly how people feel about after-school programs and that funding. 9.7 million depend on federal bridge funding gaps. 7.4 million receive resources through Individuals with Disability Education Act, and 26 million rely on Title I funding, and another 6.6 million rely on Pell Grants. So there are real people being affected by this. Jody, I have less than 30 seconds here. How quickly would these funds need to be released so that you're not impacted this summer?
We're already being impacted. So, as soon as possible, but we are hearing of programs across the country that are shutting their doors as early as this week because they don't have the funds.
Jody, we wish you and your colleagues the best because we do understand the importance that students receive the support that they need. Jody Grant, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, U.S. military is ramping up its training and military might in the Arctic. The reason behind the strategic move in a NewsNation exclusive coming up. And President Trump is on his way to Pennsylvania right now. What his visit could mean for robotics, AI, and America's energy.
It was a surge with the force of Niagara Falls.
NewsNation on the ground.
We're on a second level deck. We'd be in water.
The humanity you are bringing to this story is so important.
For news for all Americans, stay with NewsNation.
Safe like repair, safe like replace.
Sadly, windshield chips can turn into windshield cracks. But at least you can go to safelight.com and schedule a fix in minutes. With flexible payment options, get it fixed now and pay later, only at safelight.com.
Hey, Mom, your mouth and eyes are doing that thing again.
Not again.
Let's talk to your doctor.
We learned the uncontrollable movements are called tardive dyskinesia, or TD, and were caused by Mom's mental health medications.
Mom was prescribed Austedo XR, a once-daily extended-release pill for adults.
Austedo XR can significantly reduce TD movements, with some seeing a response as early as 2 weeks, and Mom can stay on her mental health medications.
Austedo XR can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Pay close attention to and call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden changes in mood, or have suicidal thoughts. Don't take if you have liver problems, are taking Reserpine, tetrabenazine, or valbenazine. Austedo XR may cause irregular or fast heartbeat or abnormal movements. Seek help for fever, stiff muscles, problems thinking or sweating. Common side effects include inflammation of the nose and throat, insomnia, and sleepiness.
If you see TD, ask about Austedo XR.
Oh, what is that musty smell?
Oh, damp.
Damn. Oh, damn.
Hey, language.
Damp-Rid traps excess moisture to eliminate musty smells. Get rid of the damp with Damp-Rid.
And the breakthrough odd-chain essential fatty acid in Fatty 15 works to keep you healthier longer. Exactly. This critical nutrient provides long-term whole-body wellness you can feel. Nerd out with us at fatty15.com.
Veteran homeowners. Need cash but worried you can't get a home loan because of your credit? Here's great news. At New Day, we've been granted automatic authority by the VA to make our own loan approval decisions. In fact, if you've had credit challenges and missed a payment along the way, you're more than 5 times more likely to get approved for the New Day 100 VA cash out loan. No one knows veterans like New Day USA.
Call 1-844-947-0405.
Honey?
Wait, what?
With COVID-19 and my heart disease, I'm not going to wait. If it's COVID, Paxlovid.
Paxlovid is an oral treatment for adults with mild to moderate COVID-19 and a high risk factor for it becoming severe. It does not prevent COVID-19.
My symptoms are mild now. I'm not risking it.
Paxlovid must be taken within the first 5 days of symptoms and helps stop the virus from multiplying in your body. Taking Paxlovid with certain medicines can lead to serious or life-threatening side effects or affect how it or other medicines work, including hormonal birth control. Tell your doctor about all medicines, vitamins, and herbal supplements you take, as certain tests or dosage changes of your other medicines may be needed. Tell them if you have kidney or liver problems, HIV-1, are or plan to be pregnant or breastfeed. Don't take Paxlovid if allergic to its ingredients. Stop taking and call your doctor right away if you have allergic reaction symptoms. Serious side effects can include allergic reactions, some severe like anaphylaxis and liver problems. These are not all the possible side effects, so talk to your doctor.
If it's COVID, Paxlovid.
Ask your doctor today.
Welcome back, 14 minutes after the hour. Right now, we're getting an update from the DOJ and DEA cartel drug trafficking. Let's take a listen.
In our communities. In one recent example, just 2 weeks ago, the DEA arrested an illegal alien sitting in the front passenger seat of a trailer truck that contained over 700 pounds of methamphetamine. 700 pounds. Something else I hadn't seen, they are now putting methamphetamine in a pill form. First time we've seen that, a pill form. Now, A pill form of methamphetamine might not kill you instantly, but it can get you so addicted to meth that it can destroy your life instantly. DOJ attorneys will continue to prosecute these violent criminals, and they're all violent. If you are dealing in these drugs to Americans, to any citizen in this world, you're a violent criminal, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Since January 20th, DEA has been removing this poison from our streets at a historic rate. They've seized over 44 million fentanyl pills, over 4,500 pounds of fentanyl powder, over 64,000 pounds of methamphetamine, 64,000, nearly totaling the same amount that was seized in all of 2024. 541,000 pounds of cocaine. And what they're doing, they just take a little fentanyl and lace it in that cocaine, which is how Chelsea lost her brother. We will not rest until these FTOs...
That, of course, is Attorney General Pam Bondi talking about the efforts that they're doing to make sure that they get fentanyl off the streets. She has made that a cornerstone of her team and their mission. We'll continue to follow that, and should there be an update, we'll bring it to you.
Drone warfare tactics used abroad are transforming threats to our homeland. From Ukraine to the Middle East, our adversaries are deploying increasingly sophisticated drone capabilities that can be adapted by terrorists, lone actors, or state proxies within the United States.
Representative Carlos Jimenez there earlier today on Capitol Hill, casting his concerns over the U.S. falling behind on drone production and investment. Now the Department of Defense is announcing new investments into drone technology, just one of several ways it is combating aggression from its adversaries. Another way is a brand new fleet of icebreaker ships meant to combat growing Russian expansion in the highly contested Arctic Circle. President Trump has ordered 40 icebreakers to break up those icy waters to make way for cargo ships, battleships, and obtain better access to some of the world's untapped resources. The move will give a massive boost to the Coast Guard fleet in the Arctic, where just 2 of these heavy-duty ships are currently in commission. Those ships, the Polar Star and the Healy, are considered either at or beyond their planned service lives. But this investment will take years to come to fruition and will cost the U.S. billions of dollars. But the president is citing the need as both Russia and China seem to be locked and loaded for this next chapter of warmer waters in the Arctic. NewsNation is getting an exclusive first look at one of these heavy-duty ships before it heads to Alaska. NewsNation's Nancy Liu got a chance to see the vessel. Nancy, good afternoon. Tell us about why this ship is necessary and why the U.S. needs even more icebreakers.
Yeah, the need is desperate, Nick. We're now on the bridge level of the Storis, and this is a pretty impressive ship. You can actually drive it from 8 different locations of the ship, and the Coast Guard has a unique mission ahead because they need to change what was once an icebreaker built for the oil industry into an asset for the Coast Guard. So a kind of test run is gonna be underway in a month or 2 as it heads out on its first Arctic mission. That's after it's commissioned in Alaska next month. I got a chance to speak with Captain Corey Kearns. He's the commanding officer of the Storis. You mentioned the Russians, the Chinese, and the many icebreakers that they have, but take a listen to Captain Kearns.
The Russians obviously operate a lot in the Arctic. They're an Arctic nation. They have 50 icebreakers. In recent years, they've started operating with the People's Republic of China and their Navy in the Bering and in the Arctic. And then also recently, the Russian Border Force and the China Coast Guard made a combined deployment into the Arctic. The recent administration talking about wanting to buy more icebreakers and do it in more unique ways, like partnering with some of our allies to see if we can get them faster. So I think we can. We have some work to do in the U.S. to improve our shipbuilding capacity, but I think right now the nation and the government is getting behind that.
So, Nick, you mentioned, we have 3 icebreakers now. We do have another one under construction, the Polar Sentinel. That will join in 2030, bringing our number up to 4. But it is still a big job ahead for any potential Arctic incursion or any kind of warfare up there. Icebreakers will be the front line. So they are desperately needed, and this ship will be hitting the waters and making our presence known in the next month or 2. Nick?
And that is quite the impressive vessel. Nancy Lou, thank you so much. Coming up, the race to dominate AI. Is the U.S. too late, or is a major announcement being made by the president today going to put the U.S. back in the game? The death toll is rising in Texas as new flood concerns loom. You're watching NewsNation Now. We'll be right back.
Join me, Ashley Banfield, weeknights on NewsNation.
If you know luxury, it's not just award-winning, it's rewarding. Saatva Mattresses supports all types of sleepers. Luxury is handcrafted and assembled in American factories and brought directly to you with our complimentary in-home delivery and setup service. Which is why over 90% of customers would recommend Saatva to friends and family. Saatva, luxury mattresses made affordable.
Cut! I get it. Slow sloth, slow down geographic atrophy, but we don't need gimmicks. Stick to the facts. GA, the advanced form of dry AMD, can irreversibly damage your vision. But Syfovre is an FDA-approved eye injection that gives you the power to slow GA. It's the only treatment to slow GA in as few as 6 doses per year.
Don't take Syfovre if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye that may include pain and redness or are allergic to it. Syfovre can cause severe allergic reactions. Other serious side effects are eye infection and retinal detachments, severe inflammation of vessels in the retina, which may result in severe vision loss, wet AMD, eye inflammation, and an increase in eye pressure. Most common side effects are eye discomfort, wet AMD, small specks floating in vision, and blood in the white of the eye. Tell your doctor right away if you have any side effects.
Act on facts to slow GA. Ask your retina specialist about Syfovre.
1 in 3 U.S. consumers have been a victim of identity theft, even when they did all the right things to protect their personal information.
I thought we did enough to keep a nightmare like this from happening.
Even if you take steps to protect your personal information, banks, hospitals, employers, and many government agencies all have your personal information too. And when they're exposed, careful monitoring of your accounts and credit won't be enough.
It's scary when you think about how easily this kind of stuff occurs.
And you might not find out until the damage is almost impossible to fix. LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats others could miss, far beyond what you could possibly monitor on your own. And if you become a victim, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed. Plus, all plans include identity theft restoration, guaranteed, or your money back. Call now or go online and use promo code NOW35 to save 35% off an annual plan for your first year. Enroll now.
This is a story about the one who can fix nearly anything and turns to Grainger, who has almost everything. He troubleshoots issues, maintains the facility, and keeps it all on track. Few may see him put the work in, but when they see the results, they know he's the one who keeps the doors open. The high-quality industrial products you need, plus a million more. Call, click Grainger.com, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Are you ready for an electric joyride? It's just a few clicks away. Introducing electric e-bikes. Experience what it's like to feel like a kid again. And feel confident with the best-selling electric bike in the U.S. We have every type of bike for every type of rider. Ships to your doorstep for free. Little to no assembly required. Hop on to your next adventure. Only at electricebikes.com. Electric e-bikes. Affordably awesome.
Welcome back. President Trump has landed in Pennsylvania, where he'll attend an Energy and AI Innovation Summit. He'll be announcing a $70 billion investment in the sector for the state. The investment announcement comes as the latest annual inflation rate report shows inflation rose to its highest level in 4 months. In June, prices rose 2.7% compared to a year earlier. From May to June, prices rose 0.3%. The rise in inflation was driven by higher prices from everything from clothes to appliances, which are heavily imported and being slapped with the president's new higher tariffs. NewsNation's Kelly Meyer is following the story and joins us live from the White House. Kelly, good afternoon.
Hey there, Nick. So President Trump, as you said, there in Pittsburgh, set to tout investments in AI. A White House official telling NewsNation today that more than $90 billion in investments are set to be announced at this, what they're calling inaugural Energy and Innovation Summit. The president touting Google, Meta, Blackstone, all announcing investments in data centers, AI training, and infrastructure. The White House promises all of this will create tens of thousands of jobs, they say. And it comes as the president is celebrating the latest inflation report. He says there is, quote, very low inflation, but things did tick up in June. Consumer price index up 2.7% from a year ago. Core inflation, a gauge for underlying price pressures, also rose. Appliances up 0.9%. Gas prices rose 1% in June. And grocery prices also rose 0.3%. Here's some reaction from Capitol Hill to those numbers.
Think about everything we've accomplished just the last few weeks. Gas prices hit a 4-year low. The last 4 jobs reports exceeded expectations. The stock market is reaching record highs. We have the lowest monthly border encounters in the history of the United States. Our NATO partners committed to spending 5%, not 2% of their GDP on national defense.
Donald Trump, when he campaigned, promised on day one he would end inflation and lower costs. Donald Trump lied to the American people, because we now know that inflation has continued to increase under his policies and that of Republicans.
The CPI year-over-year annual pace print for June was the hottest since February and is up 2 straight months. This could indicate the initial impact of the tariffs, but that could be a lagging indicator. We still don't know yet the full impact of President Trump's tariffs and his new tariff threats. That deadline extended until August 1st. Price pressure could increase in the coming months, and companies left with the question of, do they absorb that cost or pass it on to the consumer? Nick?
Kelly, what does this mean for a potential rate cut?
Yeah, President Trump has been pressuring the Federal Reserve Chair to cut rates. He says this is the time to do it, but the Fed is likely to hold rates steady potentially, especially with tariff threats on the horizon. Trump saying on Truth Social today even, quote, consumer prices low, bring down the Fed rate now. And Fed should cut rates by 3 points. Very low inflation, $1 trillion a year would be saved. He repeated these calls as he left the White House today, now making this a nearly daily call for Jerome Powell to step aside. Take a listen.
Jerome Powell is too late. He's way late. Interest rates should be coming down. We have a very, very successful country. We should have the lowest interest rate anywhere in the world, and we don't. Jerome Powell has done a terrible job, and frankly, I don't think he could do a worse job.
And the Fed's next policy decision is coming up on July 30th, Nick.
Meyer with the latest from the White House. Kelly, thank you so much. Here with us now to talk all things energy and AI is the CEO of Frontier Foundry and AI expert, Sultan Mechie. Sultan, good afternoon, or Dr. Mechie, how are you today?
It's just Sultan. It's just fine. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Talk to us about why it's important that the United States pick up its AI game.
So over the last 25 years, we've grown our data center utilization by about 80%. We are the home of global artificial intelligence, but China is making tremendous investments in that space. And it is a century-long win for us if the United States becomes a home of artificial intelligence globally. And the only way to do that is to radically increase the amount of electrical capacity we have.
Sultan, there's also a move by the administration to waive some of the aggressive measures that had kept drones from being used and purchased in the United States and developed. Was this a smart move on the behalf of the United States?
It's a balancing act for the nation to decide whether or not to allow Chinese surveillance technology or drones, as some people might call them, into the United States. But the fact is there's a lot of stuff we import from countries, including China, that we just don't make enough of here. And that's a huge push for us as a nation. We should be making those drones here, not importing them from China, where we don't know what's on the software or what's inside the box when it gets across the border.
Sultan, we know that the president will be making an announcement centered on Pennsylvania and possibly bringing a large amount of AI technology and development there. Is this a great space to do this?
It's absolutely fantastic. We, as a nation, as a physical country, have some of the best land resources available for data centers, whether it's places where there's a lot of water, where there are places where there's a lot of sun for solar. If we decide to go down that path, we have amazing nuclear capabilities that we need to grow and expand. This is the home of the internet, and it should be the home of artificial intelligence.
Sultan, how do we encourage a growth in this space as far as tapping the right resources, the brain power, and everything that we need right here so that these smart individuals don't move into the private sector, but that they actually choose to work for the United States?
As someone who spent a lot of their career in the private sector and then went into the U.S. government and now back out, I can tell you it was one of the biggest honors of my life to do it, but it was a hardship. It took a lot of effort to turn away from those big paychecks and all those great benefits and the flexibility. But the fact is we have to modernize our workforce in the federal government, just like we've had to modernize our workforce for any company. And we are lagging on that, and we could do a better job.
Sultan, are you most excited about the production of drones and things here, or you're like Nick, it's multifactorial? Drones are just one part of it in the use in the military, or should we be focusing more on AI?
It's multifaceted. You can't just talk about hardware like drones without also talking about software like AI. And so to me, both should be made here. Both should be built by Americans in American factories and sold and exported around the world. We should be a net energy exporter, we should be a net hardware exporter, and we should be a net software exporter.
Sultan, one more question I got for you before I let you go there. Talk to me about Grok, because we just made a major investment. The United States just made a major investment with Grok, but we know the Grok is still having issues spewing anti-Semitic remarks, and it doesn't seem as though they really have a control over Grok, but Grok is necessary.
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges with large language models is that it is a single big model, and data can get in there and you can end up with whether or not it thinks it's the next Führer, or it doesn't even know how to do simple math like 2 + 2, which a lot of companies are struggling with. And in many ways, this is still very frontier technology, and Grok is very much on the forefront of that frontier. And so, for us as a civilization, we have to learn how to navigate that and learn when it's time to maybe take the gas off just a little bit and let the researchers go back to the lab for a few minutes before we put something out, for the entire world to use, or certainly something that our government should rely on.
Sultan, assuming the president's plans in energy and AI go forward, where are we 5 years from now?
We are the biggest software and AI exporter in the world. Every good AI model is built here and run here. Every robot that is built here and run on American AI. The chips, the software, and it's all done under the umbrella of the best energy infrastructure in the world.
Sultan Mejji, I want to thank you again for joining us this afternoon. And next time, you're going to have to show us those tattoos up the arm.
Great to see you.
Sultan, thank you so much. The threat of new floods looms as teams try to find remains of missing people in Texas.